Thank you even more for everybody who has joined here today. Were you all here with Venmo Vimala last week? Most of you probably. Was it a good session? Put up your thumbs if yes. Yeah? Okay. I should make a screenshot of this so I can show it to Venmo Vimala because I know her quite well, sorry. She's also Dutch just like me. Yeah, so I'm happy you had a good session with Venmo Vimala. And I'm not sure if I can live up to their standard today because I have to admit I didn't really prepare very much. I have been starting up a new monastery in Australia, and that's taken most of my time. Not that much time, but still I didn't really prepare much for this. We also didn't really have internet for a while, so you're actually quite lucky that we got it working in time, the internet. But yeah, sometimes it's actually nice to kind of freestyle a little bit. I did think about it for 10 minutes or so yesterday, so I'm not completely unprepared. But if this is a little bit more, this session is a little bit more janky, a little bit more less smooth, then you know why. Anyway, last week, Venmo Vimala, they spoke about right view, right? Majjhima Nikaya 9, I believe. Yeah? When we were asked to do the workshop, we were asked to present it together, and that would have been really nice. But that would also mean that we had to communicate a lot back and forth. You're going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that, and what do you think about this? And we were both doing some other stuff as well, so that we couldn't do that, so we decided to split it up. And how we split it up is Venmo Vimala did mainly the theory of right view, and I honestly say I don't know exactly what she talked about, or at all, or what they talked about, sorry, with the pronoun, what they talked about. But I suspect it was all can be in line with what I'm going to teach today. And what I'm going to teach you today is hopefully some more practical aspects of right view. Yeah? So most of you know the Eightfold Path. And it starts with right view, and then it builds up through different factors, and then the last factor of the Eightfold Path is, you know what it is? It's like right samadhi, or people translate it differently, but we can, for this sake of this workshop, we can maybe just go with the idea of right meditation. So everybody's will be happy with that idea, I suppose. So it actually starts with right view, right? It's kind of interesting. Because there is also in the Buddhist text, there is often this idea that the samadhi, the meditation, leads to seeing things as they really are. And you got suttas where the Buddha literally says from your happiness you get the tranquility, from the tranquility you get the samadhi, and then from samadhi leads to seeing things as they really are. And there's a lot of truth in that. So that's one way you can approach this, like stilling your mind, stilling your thoughts, becoming peaceful, focusing within. You get to see more clearly what is the mind like. And that's the whole purpose of meditation in the end, is to learn about the mind. That you can find a lot of peace and happiness in the mind. You sit and you're so happy to just breathing in, breathing out. That's great, you're just peaceful, you're there. Have you had that kind of experience, all of you? So at least a little bit? Yeah, no? At least you can probably kind of feel what I'm talking about, right? You get the taste of peace. But don't get stuck in the peace, because from the peace, you can use it as a tool to investigate the mind. So from peace comes right view in that sense, in a very deep sense actually. But the Buddha also said that, on the one hand, without peace, without the samadhi there, or he literally says without jhana, there is no wisdom. Yeah? So you need that peace, that, let's say, concentration, to find that wisdom. But also, he says, without wisdom, cannot have the samadhi. So it seems like you're kind of stuck, you know. You need this for that, but you need that for this. Like, where do you start? Well, I think the idea is pretty clearly that it is like stepping up a ladder. Yeah, you use a little bit of wisdom to get more peace, then you use that more peace to get a bit more wisdom, and that you use that wisdom to get more peace. And every time they help each other out, they lift each other up. And this is also one of those very great teachings by Ajahn Chah. My teacher is Ajahn Brahm, some of you might know, and his teacher was Ajahn Chah. Ajahn Chah lived in Thailand, and sometimes people would ask him, should I practice the samatha or vipassana? So samatha means something like calm, and vipassana is often translated as insight, but it means more literally like seeing clearly, or discernment is how I like to translate it. It's a bit technical English word, but it means like to see things clearly. So they asked, what should I do? Samatha or vipassana? And then Ajahn Chah said, samatha is like one side of the hand, and vipassana is like the other side of the hand. But you cannot have a hand with only one side. You always have to have two sides. Now in English the saying would be two sides of the same coin. I don't know if you have a similar saying in Polish. We don't in... Yeah, you do. We don't in my native language of the Netherlands. I don't think we do. But you get the idea. Yeah? You have to have the samatha and the vipassana. You have to have the calm and the clear seeing, helping each other out in your meditation, but also in your practice of developing insight. You cannot just get insight while you're all stressed out. You have to find that calm. And as was briefly said already, also in the introduction, and I repeated it earlier, you're starting a new small monastery. We call it a hermitage in Australia. And when we first started, there was another monk with me. There's still one here, but at the very start we were with 3 monks just to get us started. And his name is Venerable Jaiko. He's a very funny monk, but he's also quite active. He can be quite alive, let's say, in a good way, right? He's always very happy and very energetic, and if there's any work to do, he's always ready. I really love that guy. But he can also be whatever going on. He has lots of things to say, and he has a lot of energy. For example, when we were driving down here from Bodhinyana Monastery in the car, it was like when we got through to the more, it's a bit more wet area here, and he used to see some of the farms, like the vineyards, where they grow wine, and he said, "Wow, that's such a big vineyard!" And then 200 meters later, "Wow, that's such a huge vineyard!" You know, every vineyard to him was the biggest vineyard in the world. That's the kind of person he is. Anyway, I'm saying that because if you know him, you know that he's always can be quite excited, which is not bad. It's kind of good, but I say that as background for this little story, because we were when setting up the monastery, we have a little lake here close by as well, and I went in there every day to wash, basically. Yeah, like they did in the old days, and people still do in many places of the world. Instead of using the shower, I went into the lake to have a wash. It's now it's heat wave in Europe, right? Is Poland also affected? Yeah? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's thumbs up, but yeah, that means yes, but that's not good, I suppose. Yeah, I heard from my parents from the Netherlands that it's like, hasn't been that hot for many, many years. Anyway, when it's summer in Australia. It's summer in Poland. It's winter here in Australia, so it's quite cold. Actually, you can see I have my thick clothing on, but I still went into the lake. Now I did it for a while, and then the last day that Venerable Jaiko was here, he said I also want to go in the lake as well, just because it was his last chance, and he wanted to try, even though it was cold, you know. So actually, I went in one side of the lake, and we didn't plan it, but it just happened to be at the same time. He also came out of the house and went into the lake at the other side. And I thought, when he goes in there, he will be like Venerable Jaiko. Ooh, yeah, it's cold. Wow, I'm in the lake, or whatever. I don't know how he would have reacted. But he went really, really quiet, really, really still. And after I got out, I walked up to him and said, "Why were you so still?" He said, "Oh, I lost my glasses in the lake." He was wearing his glasses and they fell off. And he said, if I would be moving a lot, then I would stir up all the dust and the mud on the bottom of the lake, and I could never find my glasses again. So I had to be very, very still. Then I could see through the water and find my glasses. And he actually did find his glasses. Yeah? He put his glasses on and he can see clearly. Now that is quite a nice simile for how, if you want to find clarity in the mind and see things clearly in your mind, then you have to be calm things down. If there's this thought going on and that thought going on, then it's very hard to find peace. Yeah, even you go below the level of thinking to the level of just emotion. Yeah, if you've got emotions of worry and anxiety, it's all okay, but you will not find much real deep insight into the nature of the mind while you have those emotions. Yeah? It's only when they disappear, then you suddenly, oh, that's why I was anxious, or whatever. Does anybody recognize that? Right? When you're anxiety, you have all this anxiety, and you don't really know why, and then when you let it go, you're like, oh, okay, now I know. Yeah, maybe not even the exact reason, but you know, it's like on the emotional level, so hard to talk about sometimes. But anyway, so the peace leads to the insight, but also the insight leads to the peace. And all of you, whether you are Agatha, Katerina, Carolina, Basia, Beata, Mariola, Sandy. Hi, Sandy. And Sandy is from here. I think they say invite whoever you want from your local group, and I think I only invited Sandy, so very special. Well, whatever your name is, Elizabeth, Eva, yeah. You all have certain insight already. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't be interested in this kind of a teaching if you has completely had no insight at all. So you have already the start. So what I want to talk about today is how do we use some of the insights we already have to develop our meditation. Yeah. So I basically want to talk about how we can use right view to develop the samadhi and the peace. Does that sound like something interesting, something you would be interested in, or does it sound like a stupid bad topic? Yeah, it's good. All right, let's do it then. So I want to start with telling a little story again, which is actually a story from the suttas. So I want to read out a little sutta in a moment as well, but first I'll tell it in my own words. Yeah, the link to the sutta, that's the wrong one. I'll link the other one in a moment in the chat. But there was a restaurant in Warsaw. That's it. I don't know why it was in Warsaw, and in this restaurant, wait. I should tell it properly. It's not a restaurant. You have like a president in Poland, right? Yeah. Or no, wait. Who's the most famous movie star in Poland? Or famous musician in Poland? I don't know. Well, I don't know why it has to be a Polish person. Okay. Okay. There was a famous movie star, let's say Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt had a personal private chef. Yeah, you know, private chef? That's why they had to be famous or rich. Had a private chef. And this private chef used to cook for Brad Pitt whatever the private chef thought was good for Brad Pitt. So in the morning, when Brad Pitt woke up, the cook made him broccoli, because broccoli is very healthy. Yeah, and he gave broccoli to Brad Pitt. And for lunch, he gave Brad Pitt even more broccoli, because broccoli is very healthy, it's good for Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt tried to eat it, didn't eat it all, especially for breakfast, but okay, try, trust his chef. And in the evening, the chef made, you guessed it, broccoli, because broccoli is supposed to be very, very healthy. Yeah, so Brad Pitt was eating broccoli 3 times a day. And that was not only that day, no, next day again, broccoli, broccoli, broccoli. And the next day, broccoli, broccoli, broccoli. Broccoli, broccoli. And soon, Brad Pitt didn't want to eat, want to see, want to smell, want to think about broccoli anymore. Yeah, never any broccoli anymore. Broccoli is not healthy at all, Brad Pitt thought. Yeah, it just could start throwing up of all this broccoli that you're giving me. Stop all the broccoli. So what did Brad Pitt do? He fired his private chef. And his wife was a bit more wise, hired a new chef for Brad Pitt. I don't know why Brad Pitt actually had, but anyway. And this chef was much wiser, because this chef in the morning didn't cook broccoli, but went to Brad Pitt and asked, "What would you like for breakfast today, Sir Brad Pitt?" And Brad Pitt said, "Oh, today I would like some, oatmeal with strawberries or whatever." Okay, the chef cooked some strawberries and oatmeal, and Brad Pitt enjoyed it a lot. And for lunch and for dinner, same thing. The chef would ask, "What do you like? What is good for you right now?" And Brad Pitt always liked it. And after a few days, Brad Pitt thought, "Oh, it's actually, for lunch I would like broccoli today." So I asked for broccoli, and then the broccoli tasted really, really good. So you've got the wise chef and the stupid chef. And the wise chef listens to what their master wants. And that is a sutta I want to talk about today. I'll put it in the chat. I think I can. No. It's a sutta that Buddha gave. It's called The Cook, and I'm using my own translation. That's why I can also screen share it as well. It might be helpful for people who cannot find it otherwise. So let me just figure that out. Okay. For those on computer or things, can you see this? Is this big enough? Yeah? Is it okay? Yeah? Okay, well, if you can't see it, I will read it out anyway, so you can also keep your eyes closed and just listen to, because in the time of the Buddha, they would also just listen, right? They wouldn't read it. Okay, so this is sutta called The Cook. This is the Buddha saying, "Mendicants or monks and nuns, but it also includes all of you as well. Imagine a foolish, unskillful, and incompetent cook who attends to a king or a king's minister. He serves him various kinds of curries, sour, bitter, hot, sweet, sharp, mild, spicy, and bland. But he fails to notice the signs of his master. He does not notice which curry pleased his master on a given day, which one he reached for, which one he ate a lot of, or which one he praised. That cook will not gain clothes, wages, and gifts. Why? Because that foolish, unskillful, and incompetent cook fails to notice the sign of his master. Yeah, he just cooks whatever, and he doesn't look at the king, what he likes. Yeah, just like Brad Pitt's cook with the broccoli. You get the idea? Yeah, just cook whatever the cook wants. Yeah, imagine go to a restaurant and you sit down and they just give you no menu. They just give you the food right away. That wouldn't be a good restaurant, would it? That doesn't usually happen. Usually you get like a choice. So that's what the Buddha says here. Actually, he says, likewise, some foolish, unskillful, and incompetent mendicant might meditate on a certain aspect of the body, a certain sensation, a certain state of mind, or a certain phenomena. Motivated, aware, and non-forgetful, that's my translation for mindfulness, free from longing and aversion for worldly things. As he does so, or she does so, his mind does not unify, his impurities are not abandoned, and he fails to notice the signs of that. That mendicant will not gain blissful abidings in this very life, and he will not gain non-forgetfulness or mindfulness and awareness. Why? Because that foolish, unskillful, and incompetent mendicant failed to notice the sign of his own mind, or their own mind. Now these certain aspect of the body, certain sensation, certain state of mind, or certain phenomenon are the four so-called satipatthanas. Yeah, that is actually satipatthana. People argue over exactly what it means, but it means like ways to establish your mindfulness, or ways to meditate, you could almost say, in more freely, translated more freely. Ways to meditate. Yeah? So, in a way, all the different ways that you can meditate all fall under these satipatthanas, these different ways to meditate. Yeah? And you can meditate on a certain aspect of the body. Sometimes that's translated body in the body, which is too literal. It means like a certain aspect of your body. For example, you can focus on the breath, that's a part of the body, and you can focus on the other feelings in your body, like emotions, or you can focus on the nature of the body, to get old and die. That's all aspects of the body. Yeah, and now all these different ways of meditating, they are all like the dishes that the cook can serve. That's the idea here. Yeah? So you can focus on a certain sensation, for example, like a feeling in your mind, or feeling of joy, or a feeling of sadness, or a certain state of mind. That goes a little bit overlaps with sensations as well, but like what is your mind thinking about? Certain thoughts you can focus on. You can also focus on a certain phenomena or dhamma. So you can also focus on things like impermanence or non-self. These kind of ideas. I'm not sure if Venerable Vimala talked about that, or the Four Noble Truths. So, yeah, there's all different ways to meditate. Yeah, motivated, aware, and non-forgetful is my translation of mindfulness. So it means you keep in mind what you're meditating on, so you don't forget it. That's why non-forgetful. It's just sometimes I translate things differently just to give you a new flavor, not because I disagree so much with the existing translations. Yeah, and as his mind, or their mind or her mind, does not unify, does not reach Sammā Diṭṭhi, does not abandon the impurities, the hindrances, and he doesn't notice what's going on. Yeah. So what's the idea here? It's like you're sitting down meditating, and you only serve yourself always broccoli in your mind. Yeah. So maybe you think, oh, if I meditate, I have to focus on the breath, or I have to scan the body, or I don't know what kind of broccoli you're serving yourself every day. Yeah? The Buddha is telling us here, you have to be responsive to the contents of the mind. You have to be like a wise cook. Yeah, because the sutta goes further, and you can guess probably it's just the opposite. Imagine a wise, skillful and competent cook who attends to a king or a king's minister. He serves him various kinds of curries: sour, bitter, hot, sweet, sharp, mild, spicy and bland ones. And he does notice the sign of his master. Yeah, so this is the wise cook. He notices which curry pleased his master on a given day, which one he reached for, which one he ate lots of, or which one he praised. That cook will gain clothes, wages and gifts. Why? Because that wise, skillful and competent cook notices the signs of his own master. Likewise, some wise and skillful and competent mendicant. Skillful, by the way, is kusala. The word kusala is also translated as wholesome, but here you see it's also used for like a skillful cook, and we don't really talk about a wholesome cook. So literally the word kusala means like that, to be good at something, to have skill at something. Anyway, a wise, skillful and competent mendicant might meditate on a certain aspect of the body, a certain sensation, certain state of mind, or a certain phenomenon. A certain sensation is also feeling. So for those of you who are a bit more familiar with the suttas, these are those 4 satipatthanas, 4 categories of things basically to meditate on. Motivated, aware and non-forgetful, free from longing and aversion for worldly things. As he does so, his mind does unify, his impurities are abandoned and he notices the signs of death. That mendicant will gain blissful abidance in this very life. That usually refers to jhanas, but even before jhanas, the same idea still goes. And he will gain non-forgetfulness and awareness. Why? Because that wise, skillful and competent mendicant notices the signs of his own mind. So that's the sutta on the cook. Yeah, it's quite short sutta, but for me one of the most helpful suttas in meditation, because it tells each one of you that you have to be like the wise cook who asked your mind, what would you like today? What is the right dish for you today? What should I serve you today? Yeah? Do I do today focusing on the breath, focusing on the body? Do I practice loving kindness? You can even say, do I do sitting down meditation? Or do I do walking meditation? Or maybe it's not the right time for meditation at all. And maybe I should instead go and see the workshop. Or have a cup of tea or coffee or whatever. You have to be wise like that. Yeah, the wise cook. So I picked that sutta because it takes a certain insight into our mind, a certain kind of right view, you could say, to see in your mind and body what's going on here, and how do I properly respond to that. And I teach meditation like that very often. When I teach people meditation, I say it's all very individual. You have to look at your own mind and be responsive to the contents of your own mind. If you are sleepy and then you wrap yourself all in different blankets and you put like a beanie on like this, and then you go focus on the breath, like breathing in, breathing out. Then you'll fall even more asleep, I bet you. Yeah? There's nothing wrong with that per se, but the Buddha said if you're sleepy, then don't try to calm your mind down even more. He said then try to uplift your mind, find some joy or some contemplation. And on the other hand, if your mind is agitated, if you're like restless, thinking about this and that, then instead, then is the right moment to calm down your mind. Yeah? So when you go and start meditation, it's always good to ask yourself, how am I feeling? And what is the right approach to my mind today? Yeah. And that's not just with sleepiness and restlessness, but also with all other sorts of emotions and things that might be going on in your mind and body. Might feel regret, uncertainty, or anxiety, or maybe overly energetic, or whatever. And you can respond in certain ways. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Yeah. And to me, that has been one of the most important teachings that I've ever seen when it comes to meditation. Wow, I see all these little thumbs up. All right, actually. Yeah. Because it gives you also some responsibility. And it also becomes a bit more interesting meditation, because it's not just blindly applying the same method every time, eating broccoli every time. Yeah, no wonder if you eat broccoli every time, it doesn't always turn out to be the right dish, right? So very often in meditation, it's not that you're doing it wrong, it's that you might be using the wrong tool at the certain moment. Yeah? I don't know how you've been taught meditation in the past, but I know there are certain places where they just teach one or two methods, and they're supposed to solve all your problems. I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah, I kind of teach almost the exact opposite. But that makes it a little bit more difficult for me, because I cannot just say, oh, this is the way you meditate. Yeah? You just focus on your breath, and that's it. Yeah, you lose your breath, you go back to your breath. Yeah, and if you lose your breath again, you go back to your breath. That's all you do. And then you have a question like, oh, I feel this and that, and then my answer would just be, oh, I'll go back to the breath. No. And some people do teach that way, and maybe you're not familiar, but I don't. Very often when people ask me questions, I actually don't answer them directly. I kind of let them figure it out for themselves, just help them in the right direction to answer that question for themselves. And can you see how this is a way to develop the start of right view? Not to just blindly apply broccoli, but to actually ask your mind, what do you need? And then by learning with your mind, maybe ask your mind, what do you need? And you don't get the right answer, but you don't really know what to do. Okay. And you just try something, maybe today I'll just try relaxing your body or whatever. Yeah? And it might not work, but you learn, okay, maybe this is not the right tool for that job. But over time you get to use more and more different ways to meditate, and can create your own techniques as well. Yeah. So that's one way how right view and that calm really go together. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So I've got more to say about that, but what I would like to do now is maybe meditate together for half an hour or so. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah. And then, maybe before we meditate, maybe I'll do a few questions now, just to make it a little bit more interactive, right? So it's not just me. So maybe I can answer a few questions. If you have any questions, you can ask them in person. That's what I would prefer. Just to ask them, unmute and ask them. But if you can't, then you can also ask it in the chat, but that's better in person. Does anybody have anything to ask about that, or about meditation in general, or about right view in connection with meditation?
You can raise your hand in reactions. You can raise your hand and unmute and ask the question. We don't have the questions on the chat, Ajahn.
Basia speaks.
Właśnie Basia, poproszę cię o tłumaczenie. Bardzo proste.
No, it's no, I'm not the translator. Kasia, you speak very good English. You speak very good English, so.
What about Ajahn? What about when the mind is nie wie, czego chce, jak powiedzieć? The mind is
doesn't know what
you want to do in the meditation, and try this. What happened now?
Yes.
What to do now?
That's a very, very good question, Katrina. It's a very good question. So you sit, you've got these instructions from the Buddha to try and be like a wise cook, you know, choose the right dish. But you go to the table as the cook and you ask, what dish would you like? And then the master is just like, I don't know, I'm a bit hungry, but I don't know what I want. And I don't know what would be right for me. Yeah, so your mind is like, I don't know what to do. And first of all, what you might recognize is that that doubt in itself, that not knowing what to do, that might be the hindrance itself. Yeah? And so to just recognize that, oh, I don't know what to do now, that in itself can often alleviate that whole feeling already. Yeah, that can, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 5 hindrances in meditation, but there's like restlessness, ill will, sensual desire, sleepiness, and the last one is doubt. Yeah? And one way to get rid of doubt is to always find the right answer to your questions and to know exactly what to do. But another way to get rid of doubt is to just drop the question and say, okay, yeah, I don't know what to do, and that's fine. And then you just rest in that awareness of not knowing and to just feel what that feels like to not know. Because the downside of the way I teach meditation is that it can sometimes turn into people controlling too much and trying to be too much on top of things. Yeah, trying to always steer the mind every minute, every moment, trying to change how they approach their mind, which is also not helpful. So I very much understand why many people teach more simply and they say focus on your breathing, and I sometimes do that as well. And yeah, so that's the first thing, just to recognize the doubt. The second thing is, sometimes if you don't know, just go back to whatever meditation object or method works for you most of the time. Okay? When I don't know, I often get back to metta meditation, loving kindness meditation, because you almost can't go wrong with that. It has a kind of energy to it, so if you're sleepy, it's also helpful. There's a kind of joy to it, and I just feel naturally attracted to it as well. But that's usually my default. If I don't know what to do, I just have that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
Kasia.
right.
Beatko,
Yes, hello. Hello, Ajahn. It's lovely to see you.
Oh.
I'm so glad to see you. And I have a question about how to keep my mind still for a long time, because I start to meditate since 2023, so it's good few years, and I do this every day as much as possible, as good as possible. But then I learn, of course, so I'm getting peace very easily at the beginning now. Very easily, I'm getting the stillness, peace in my mind. But then the thoughts are just coming into my mind, and there is a lot of them. And the question is how to keep the stillness for longer. And I'm listening Dhamma talks every day, but I still don't understand. Maybe I cannot keep my mind in peace for a long time. At the beginning it's very easy, but then the problem comes and I don't know what to do. with it, because I try questions, I try many other techniques, methods, and what Ajahn say, every Ajahn I'm listening to, but I'm still not getting easily to keep my mind still for longer.
Okay. First of all, I would say be happy with the kind of peace you already found at the start of the meditation. Have that contentment. Okay, at least I found some peace and some amount of rest. Many people can't find. Yeah? And if you're more contented, then that's already one big way to keep that peace. Yeah? Instead of thinking, oh, I lost that peace now, I want it back again, and then you get more restless again, and you get all this energy going in the wrong direction. Say, oh, I had that peace before, and I'm happy with whatever peace I had. That in itself creates a kind of peace as well. I'm also going to be a bit cheeky and say, don't listen to too many Dharma talks. Yeah? It has a certain use, but sometimes you got so many information in your mind, and it might even be subconscious, and it can be too much sometimes. Got all these different ideas, all these different approaches, and if you got it all in your mind, you might try and use all those ways, and it can sometimes be a bit too much. So you have to decide for yourself, but you might try just seeing, what if I just listen to 1 or 2 talks a week or something and just use only those.
Yes.
See if that happens.
Yeah, I do this.
Okay, all right. So it's not like you, because sometimes I go with people in a car or something, and then they always have Dhamma talks playing all the time, you know.
No. I just feel that I need to. I find something good. I'm listening, and then I get an answer, and then I'm not listening again, and it's kind of talks.
Okay.
But maybe there is
so
some.
Here's something else. So you say you get some peace at the start of your meditation, and then do you also get more energy? You feel a bit more alive?
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so when that energy starts to grow, then because of our habits, we want to do something with it, or your mind wants to do something with it. Yeah, you get that more energy, and energy we often somewhere subconsciously connect to doing things, thinking about things. And what you need to learn is to have energy while at the same time also being peaceful. And that's actually very difficult. You're in a good space of meditation, and you need to learn how to contain that energy in a way, not by holding it tightly, but by just letting it be and letting it grow without it all moving all over the place. Yeah. Have you heard Ajahn Brahm's simile of the glass of water before?
Oh yes.
The moving glass of water, yeah. So
let's
say there's
just
water.
put the glass and it's still.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those who don't know, there's actually coffee in this, but if you want to keep the coffee still in the thing, let me see. Yeah. It's all moving. You want to try and keep it still. You try and keep it still very tightly. It doesn't work. Yeah. So you have to put it down somewhere. Put it down on a table. Then it becomes still. The simile is, if you want your mind to be still, you put it down. That might be quite easy if you have a little bit of at the start of your meditation. You get the idea, right? Okay, I put it down. What happens is your mind becomes more energetic. It becomes more, in a good way, it becomes more happy. So it's in a way that the water in the glass starts growing, and you get more power. But then still keep the glass down, keep it there, and might be tempted when you maybe to pick up the glass again when it starts changing, like what's going on. And you start picking up your glass. Oh no, I put coffee all over myself actually. But so what you do is try to steer that energy, that calm, into the right direction. And that is the direction of finding some joy within. So it's a kind of a peaceful joy that you're just happy to be here. And you can even have a big smile on your face, just happy to be here. And see if you can contain that joy. Keep that joy as your object without doing too much to it. And this takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust and a lot of letting go. And this is where actually meditation can be quite challenging, because your mind becomes more clear, and it's actually quite scary, can be, to let go at that stage of the meditation. But that's what you need to do if you want to develop the peace still further. So that's my advice to you. You're going in the right direction. Now just have trust that not doing anything, putting down the glass, contentment, that attitude also you need to keep while your mind gets more energetic.
So when I'm getting the beautiful feeling of happiness inside, do I need to concentrate on it, or just leave it, just letting go and be there, and don't pay attention on it or focusing on it as much as I am, because I love this kind of feeling, as everyone, of course. So is it better to just, okay, it is now, and then it's okay if it's not here, or just keep attention on the beautiful feeling of happiness?
We had a great simile for this in Majjhima Nikaya 128, for those sutta lovers who want to read the thing, but I can tell it to you. It's like, the Buddha says, it's like holding a little bird. Yeah? I used to have a little bird actually as a lay person. If you hold that bird too loosely, it will fly away. But if you hold the bird too tightly, you'll kill it.
Yeah.
So you have to hold it gently. And so that's the same with joy in meditation. If you just let it completely go and let it be, then it might just disappear, fly away. If you hold it too tightly, then you squeeze it, and then the happiness disappears. You have to find that middle way where you just kind of let the happiness rest in your awareness, if that makes any sense.
I try to.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sadhu.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sadhu. Thank you.
Very
Maria.
good questions.
Maria i Marta jeszcze, czyli najpierw Maria. First Maria, please.
So Ajahn, thank you very much for being with us. I have a question regarding the meditation, the moment when I feel during meditation that I'm in a state of peace, but I'm not sure if that's the peace or dullness. I can distinguish between the good feeling of this happiness that arises and this awareness that this is what I can feel and I know what's like. But sometimes after a meditation, I have a feeling, okay, did I sleep or was I aware? I'm not sure. I have that a moment, sometimes it's a longer time during meditation when I'm not sure if that was awareness and stillness or it was dullness and sleepiness. And I didn't fall asleep, but that's something in the middle.
It can sometimes be both at the same time, you know, Maria. You have a kind of peace, but also sleepiness at the same time. And first of all, know that is not a bad state of mind to be in. It gives you a certain kind of peace, at least, yeah. It gives you kind of rest from your ordinary life, so it has its function. How long do you meditate usually? What, like a time span?
Well, it depends, but it usually happens when I meditate longer. Sometimes it's like half an hour or 45 minutes, and some of my meditations are, let's say, for me fruitful, and those with those states I don't feel as fruitful, and it's usually during this. For example, when it's like 30 minutes, and then I can feel this feeling of stillness and dullness at the same time.
That feeling of dullness and sleepiness is just can be your mind trying to rest a little bit to gather some energy. So it might go there for a wholesome reason, like it just actually recognizes, oh, I need to rest now. Maybe you've been working all day or all week, and you finally sit down to meditate. Yeah, of course you get a bit dull. Sometimes I actually rest in that kind of dullness where you don't really know what's going on, but behind it, I know, oh, I'm resting. And then that might take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then the mind gets its energy back. Yeah, it's like just recharging. That can be the case. But it can also be, and this is why you have to use that right view, that wisdom, that experience, and be like the wise cook. It can also be that you go into that place because you're just not really interested in what's going on in your mind. It can be just like a bit bored, meditating here and sit again, breathing in, breathing out, or whatever. So I want to watch the television or, want to get more excited. Then your mind might go into that state just out of boredom, out of dullness. And then it might be helpful to actually uplift the mind in some way. Maybe do some recollection of loving kindness or of generosity or any kind of Dhamma reflection that might just get your mind more alive. Create joy as well. Whatever gives you that happiness, that joy inside, that's very important. It's the joy and the reflections that actually steer the mind away from that dullness. Yeah. So try both these methods, and the problem with sleepiness is that while you're sleepy and dull, it's hard to see what's going on in your mind, right? Because that's like the effect of it. So there's different types of sleepiness and dullness. The Buddha even said so. Like the hindrances of sleepiness is actually twofold. Sometimes called sloth and torpor, but I don't never use those words. But like multiple kinds, and some can be okay, some can be the result of boredom, others can be the result of actually being physically tired, and you might have to react differently depending on the circumstances. But always take it easy. Yeah. So what is very helpful is try to when you sit down meditating and think, oh, I might get dull again, to set up mindfulness from the start. Say, oh, I might get dull in this meditation session. So I'm going to be aware of it. I'm going to see if I can spot it as soon as possible. And when the dullness comes up, then I won't react right away. I will just look at it. Look closely. What's going to happen here? Yeah, what does it feel like? And because you're still in the very early stages of that sleepiness, when it first comes up, you can see more clearly what is happening. And then you learn about, oh, might be just tiredness, or it might be boredom, or it might be something else. Yeah. Then there's all sorts of ways you can react to sleepiness as well. Sometimes it's just actually getting up and walk a bit, or something like that. Or change the temperature in your house, or these practical kind of things. Yeah, so sorry that I don't give you a very clear answer, but
it's a very good answer for me. Thank you.
In scope of this workshop, it is try and see clearly what's going on. Then you get that right view, and can respond appropriately. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good question, everybody. Very good.
And Marta, you have voice.
Hey, Marta.
Marta, we can't hear you. You're unmute, but we don't hear you.
Marta looked very professional with that helicopter thing, you know, but have to get it to work. That's all right. No, still can't hear you.
Yes, I guess Marta has a problem. So I will read it. How do I feel the difference between control and discipline? Like with your meditation posture, you shouldn't have control when you meditate. So I relax, but my back starts to hurt. Coming back to what I think is good posture is mostly painful and distracting. I find it hard to realize when I have control or when it is discipline.
Okay, I see. Well, maybe discipline for you actually is too much control. Because I never think of myself, oh, I should be more disciplined, actually. Actually, I think of myself, oh, I should enjoy more my meditation. I should relax more. Yeah, or I even don't think like that really, but, you know, if you think about meditation as a chore, as something, I gotta do it like I'm a soldier, I'm gonna discipline, I'm gonna be strict. Well, you can do that, but I think you won't enjoy it too much, your meditation. And it's often these kind of attitudes that create the pain in the first place. Yeah? Okay, I gotta sit in this posture, yeah, and not move. And this is the most alert posture. No, don't think like that. Yeah, actually, I'm leaning against the wall right now, and when we will be meditating in a few moments, I will do that as well. I'm just leaning against the wall, relax. And my discipline is to be always kind towards myself. That's the only discipline I have. Be kind to my body, be kind to my mind. Be always kind to other people as well, but in meditation especially to yourself. You meditate there with yourself. And then if you feel the need to move your body, then do it. If your back starts to hurt, then maybe even lie down to meditate, or sit on a chair. I'm here with another monk who has sciatica, like a nerve problem, and he meditates on a chair a lot, and like a very comfortable chair, which is good. Yeah. So, yeah, often this maybe you find it hard to realize where is control or discipline, because they are just two words for the same thing, maybe. And it's all a kind of control. So, yeah, we have a certain amount of so-called discipline. Well, that's just the discipline to sit down and find some peace. And then you can move around, that is all right. Yeah, you don't have to sit absolutely still, or you don't have to do this or that. That's the same with if you always serve yourself broccoli again, but then your posture is broccoli. Yeah? Every time I sit down, same broccoli posture. Is that good? No. The Buddha said that's not wise, right? You have to also ask your body, what do you need right now? Have to be a skillful cook as well for your body. Yeah? Maybe today is not the right time for the broccoli posture. Today is time for the cheesecake posture. Really indulge today. Have some really lovely cheesecake and just relax, you know. And then that attitude is so important. Relax and what's the Polish again? Spotkania or something like that. Is that right? Spotkania. And be chill. Yeah? Can happen. That is the most important. And then you'll find that attitude relaxes your body instead of the posture relaxing your body. And with that attitude, you'll find you can actually sit in many, many different postures. And even you can sit in those alert postures and you're still relaxed. Because why? Not because of the posture, but because of your mind. Yeah. Often they say mind over matter, and that's many ways that's true. If your mind is relaxed, your body will be relaxed. Okay, sorry your microphone didn't work, but it's still a very, very good question as well. So what I would suggest now is that we take a little break of 5 minutes or so. People can get something to drink, toilet or whatever. And then after that we will do meditation together. I want to show you our Dhamma hall of our new little monastery. Would you like to see it? Sandy, you've seen it before.
It's a great idea. Thank you, Ajahn. But
it's right next door of my room. Normally the monks live in huts, but because we just started this place, we actually living in like a farmhouse. And sitting here in my room, and I get a bit dull in my room, so I actually want to meditate in the Dhamma hall. That's also part of finding the right food for your mind, right? So this is our Dhamma hall. You see? There's the Buddha there. And this is where we eat, the monks. And for the people, we've got some chairs as well to sit on. Yeah. And right now the weather outside is pretty nice actually. It's been very rainy the last few days. So normally I would maybe go on a walk now. And that would be the proper food to give my mind. But instead I'm meditating with you. Maybe get the Buddha in the picture as well somehow. Might be nice. Just sitting here for a while, have a little bit of change of scenery. Okay. Can you all hear this? Yeah, because yes. Sometimes I've done guided meditations and then I'm all talking about the bell and stuff, and afterwards people say, oh, Zoom filtered out the bell. So I think I put the background filtering off, so that should help. Okay, everybody. So let's put some of those teachings of the Buddha into practice. Using discernment, using like that vipassana, that kind of clear seeing to develop some of that calm, and through that using right view to develop the meditation. So I'll do a guided meditation now about those things that I've talked about before. So to start this meditation, please find a comfortable place to sit, and please listen to the sound of this bell. I will ring it 3 times. Posture. You can change your posture later if you need to, but it's good to start with a relatively comfortable posture. So just pay attention to your body and ask yourself, what's going on in my body? going on in your body. And also ask, how can I treat my body with kindness? How can I change my posture? How can I maybe scratch something, move around to be more comfortable? Actually, now is the right time to keep my eyes open in meditation. Because I feel, because it's been raining so much and the weather's been so dark, that I actually get sleepy with my eyes closed right now. So even that is something, whether you close your eyes or keep them open, is something that you don't use the broccoli approach with always the same. You can be responsive as well to how you feel. Most of the time it's nice to keep your eyes closed, but sometimes it helps to keep them open. Approach to meditation, take it easy. You don't have to have all the answers right away. You don't have to figure out the approach right away. You can take it very slowly and always take a few minutes to see what's going on before you change your approach to meditation. At a time. You can ask yourself, how am I feeling? And ask yourself, what can I do about that? But don't try and answer both questions at the same time. It just makes things more complicated. So first we just start with the question, how am I feeling? How am I feeling right now? To you. Don't go searching out there for the answer, but just ask the question and your mind and body will respond all by themselves. Yeah? Maybe you feel restless or sleepy or agitated, or you've got lots of desires. It's okay. For now we're just figuring out, how do I feel? Like wise chef looking at his or her master and seeing what do they need today, what kind of dish. Realize that when you ask yourself, how do I feel like? Then you can only find the answer about that in the present moment. Everything you experience, everything you feel is always part of the present. Past and future, they do occur in the present. Interested in how you feel, really caring about yourself, being kind. Also relaxing, knowing that whatever the answer is, it's okay. You're allowed to feel restless or anxious, to feel sad, to feel like you don't know how you feel. You have to allow your feelings, thoughts, the space. You have to allow them into your awareness. Emotions. It's only how we deal with it. Do we deal with it skillfully or unskillfully? Really asking the question, what do I do about this feeling? We're just still answering the question, how do I actually feel? And notice that I'm actually taking quite a lot of time with that. Because this is just another way to get you into the present moment. Actually can only be answered by focusing on the present moment. interest in how you feel, that creates the kind of energy that the Buddha also talked about. Look closely, especially if you have maybe certain feelings that you've been hiding out of fear or shame. We can allow them all in. It's safe to do so. You don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be disciplined, you don't have to be a good meditator, you don't even have to find peace. Train that what is called vipassana, the clear seeing, the discernment. Clearly at the present moment, my body and mind. Not pushing anything away. Away or running away from the present moment, then just observe that very fact as part of the present moment. Take a little step back and see also the actions of your mind as always happening here and now. With how you're feeling, maybe you can ask, what is the right way to approach this? What is the right way to meditate? There will be many answers. It will be different for all of you. Maybe you can't find a clear answer yet. That you have different options available. Maybe the best option is to just stay here, in the here and now. Don't need to contemplate anything or practice loving kindness, not even relaxing the body, just to be here. That itself might be the best approach for you today. Meditation, use the wisdom, the right view, to use feedback. Let's say you decide to focus on the breath, and try that for a while, for a few minutes, and then see, is this making me more peaceful and alert and happy? Or am I just getting more tired, more dull? In other words, don't blindly trust the meditation method. Don't blindly give your mind always broccoli. Instead, use the insight to see if this is bringing you more peace and happiness. Pilots fly a plane in the darkness or in the fog. They just have to look at their instruments. Yeah? Am I flying up or am I going down? In your mind, but only every once in a while. You cannot be too tense about it. Your breath, or relax your body, or practice loving kindness, whatever you feel suitable. And then after a few more minutes, I will guide you out of the meditation. meditation. It's about half an hour. Sometimes that's, even for me, half an hour is just enough to learn what is the right dish for that day. Yeah? So don't feel upset or bad about yourself if you still don't really know what's going on in your body and mind. It's okay. But before we stop this meditation, just once more ask yourself the question, how do I feel? And before, feel more alive, or the opposite. Maybe you feel more agitated, more sleepy. Just notice that you're in fact. Meditation is to learn, to develop that insight and right view. So it's not about the peace per se. You will have learned something from each meditation session. Very clearly what you learned today. How did you arrive at that peace? And what destroyed the peace? You can store that information somewhere deep inside, so that next time you're a little bit wiser, you know a little bit better what to serve the mind in certain situations. Now ring the bell to signal the end of this meditation. At the end of the third ring is the time to come out of meditation. Meditating with me. I will now teleport back to my own room from the Dhamma hall. Oh yeah, we can do a question in a moment, but let me first say that I put my own advice into practice, right? Look at your body and mind, what do you need? Because here in my room, it's actually the shadow side of the building, and it's quite dark and gloomy in here. I've got all the lights on. And I realized that I was actually, see the lights, that I was actually getting quite sleepy. Yeah? So if I would have the freedom, I would have actually gone like walking meditation or even gone on a walk outside. But instead, I sat in the Dhamma hall where it's a bit more bright and it's a little bit more chilly as well, keeps you awake. And then at the start of meditation, notice that I said, I notice I have to keep my eyes open. Why is that? Because I realized, I close my eyes, I start falling asleep a little bit. Yeah, so I've learned over the years to be wise like that, and to use that discernment, that vipassana, to see what's going on. If I would have just sat here, turn off all the lights, put on the blanket and close my eyes, I'm sure I would have fallen asleep. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not the best use of time, really. Yeah, so please also be like that, and always respect your body and mind, and respect the way it is and realize, okay, I'm sleepy, that's all right, but I can do something about it. Yeah, keep my eyes open or go for a walk, or all these things. So I was sitting meditation, and after a while I realized, okay, I can close my eyes now. Yeah, because I've got some energy now. I can close my eyes and now it's relaxed. I'm sitting there in the present moment, and I had some kind of tension in my body. I don't know exactly what it was, but I just sat with it. Yeah, something, maybe some cropped up emotion or whatever. But I just sat with it, and I didn't really know what to do with it, except to just let it be. Yeah? When you don't know what to do, then always just let it be. And when I when I was studying university in the Netherlands, just before I became a monk, I studied mechanical engineering, like precision engineering, like really small stuff, like making computer chips and stuff like that. Yeah, and for my master thesis, I had to make a device that could use magnetizable fluids and stuff like that to move really, really small, like a nanometer, small movements, and like that's the length a human hair grows in a second. That's how small movement had to make. Anyway, it was really a challenge, you know. And when my thesis advisor gave me that challenge, I immediately started thinking, oh, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna solve this problem? Because the problem was how to use those magnetizable fluids for it. I won't give you the long of it, but my thesis advisor said in one of the first meetings we had, he said, if I give my students a problem, they're all starting to look for the solution right away. But what I want you to do is just to focus on the problem. Spend all your time looking at the problem, and then the solution will be obvious. It will come by itself. And that's such a beautiful simile for meditation. And sometimes you don't know what's going on, and just keep looking there. What hindrance is it? What's going on in your body and mind? And you just look. Yeah? Very often the problem will just resolve itself. And instead of you trying from the very start to solve all the problems, then you can't really see the problem clearly. So always take it very easy in meditation. Even if you're like a wise cook, you still cook slowly. You don't make fast food, right? You make good food. And it takes a while. Sometimes it needs to simmer for a long time, your dishes. So take it easy, take it slow. That's always very important. I think we can do a few more questions now. Then I've actually got another sutta afterwards for all of you.
Okay, so Beatka, could you unmute?
Yes, of course. Just one short question, which was very interesting for me. The feeling during the meditation, I got a warm sensation, and this is definitely not the sun, because in Ireland there is not too much sun. So the warm sensation I'm getting, very subtle, delicate, warm sensation. That's how can I describe it? What is it? It's very nice. All over my body, everywhere. What is the warm sensation, Ajahn? Could you tell me, please? Or it's not necessary to know?
Well, you can know it in feeling much better than in words, right? I can give it a label, but what good does that do? You know the feeling much better than I can ever describe it. Right? But it's probably sounds very much like you found some kindness and acceptance there within yourself. And that often comes with a lot of warmth as well. And sometimes that can almost feel like it comes to us from the outside, right? But it's actually you yourself being kind to yourself. And kindness can almost feel like something external sometimes. This is kind of strange, but this has all to do with the teachings of non-self, really. Yeah. When I teach meditation, I say, oh, you do this, you ask this question, but in the end, there's no real you there. But yeah, it's just, it's a good feeling, and that's all you need to know, really. And if it feels good and comfortable, just stay with it, and don't need to always have an answer of what is this, where does it have its place in the Noble Eightfold Path, and what do we name it. Instead, just realize, okay, this is wholesome, this is skillful, and I can trust that. Right? When we try and name things, it's often because we want to subtly try and control it. Yeah, if I just know exactly what is this, then I can put it in the box, and I know exactly what it is, and I can be the master over it. But if you just have no name for something, sometimes it feels out of control. But it's good for things to be out of control. At some point in your meditation, you'll reach that place where no labels or names have any use at all. Yeah? And when you start giving things a name, you're destroying the peace already, just by trying to identify things or trying to put it in a box. So while sometimes can be useful to say, oh, this is that, at some point you need to find the trust to go beyond the labeling, go beyond the naming, and just let things be and let them develop organically. Especially when you're in the stage of meditation where you let go of the thinking and even let go of your body to a large extent, and you find that happiness within. And sometimes things we call nimittas can show up, and if you start to analyze those and give them names, then you just destroy them. So it's good to sometimes just step back and let things be. Just like you had a very good feeling in your meditation, Bhakta. Yeah, and I said I had this kind of tension in my body, or kind of maybe some emotion that I didn't know what it was, but I also didn't try and give it a name. I was just trying to feel, what is it? And then at some point it just disappeared, and I still don't know exactly what it was, but just by being with it, opening up to it, that's often enough. Yeah.
Okay, so, because I heard it's maybe a healing, kind of healing, but it's okay. I won't name it anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you can, or you don't have to, really. Up to you. You can say, oh, this might be healing, but it might also be just, comfort, a feeling of comfort.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I help anybody else with anything? Any kind of questions or comments?
Questions in the chat.
Yeah, that's good as well. Up there in the chat. Are there any, or are we okay? Everybody okay? Okay, seems like maybe at the end we can do some broader questions as well, and not so directly related to meditation. We said before that we would only go for 3 hours, but that was mainly because I didn't really know what to talk about. So if we do go for 4 hours, that's fine with me as well. I don't have to go anywhere. It's just that I thought, I don't know if I have that much to say. But so if we have questions later and we run later, that's fine as well. Anyway, so I've talked to you about looking at your body and mind and being responsive to the contents of your body and mind, using a little bit of wisdom there to see what you should do. Now let me find, maybe if I can find some other suttas which are interested in that connection. do this one instead. Then next time I'll do the other one tomorrow. So so for those who want to visit the sutta for themselves, they can click in the chat on the link. For other people, I will share my screen and I'll also read it out again. So if you don't have the possibility to look, it's also fine. It's you can understand also just listening. So share screen. Oh yes, I'm so technologically advanced these days. Yeah, you can see? Or yeah, okay. So this actually, people who've been to maybe listened to my meditation retreats online might be familiar with this already, but it's just one of those suttas which I find very, very helpful. So this is just a part of a sutta. And here the Buddha says, when the mind is dull or sleepy, it's the wrong time to develop the awakening factors, the enlightening factors or sambojjhangas, of calm, that's Pasali, unification, that's samadhi, my translation of samadhi, and equanimity, that's upekkha. Why? Because it's difficult to arise a dull mind with those things. Suppose you wanted to make a small fire flare up. Would you be able to do so if you threw wet grass, cow dung and wet wood onto it and sprayed it with water and covered it with dirt? Well, would you be able to? No, we actually got in this place, to heat it up, we have to light a fire, yeah? You start with a small fire and then you put on more wood, right? You don't put on water, yeah? So no, of course, if you put water on a small fire, it goes out. Likewise, when the mind is dull, it's the wrong time to develop the awakening factors of calm, unification and equanimity. Why? Because it's difficult to rise a dull mind with those things. Yeah, so if your mind is sleepy and you're tired, and like the person who asked the question before, they have a kind of peace but it's a little bit dull, then it's not always, it can be helpful, but it's not always helpful to just relax, calm, and be equanimous. Yeah, instead you might have to lift up the mind. So here the Buddha is saying, when the mind is dull, it's the right time to develop the awakening factors of investigation, energy, and delight. Delight is my translation of piti, which is also translated as joy. Yeah, you can see how these qualities of the mind of investigation, like and energy and delight, how these are uplifting. Can you understand that intellectually already? Yeah. So investigation is, for example, asking the question, how do I feel? And really being interested in that. Yeah, how do I really feel right now? It's really, instead of just taking it for granted, it's saying, this is interesting. What is my life like? And what is this feeling in my mind and my body like? Then you use that investigation. And energy can be like, I'm really interested in this meditation. I really like it. And sometimes you can just switch on that energy in your mind. Or for me, it was like keeping your eyes open. That can create energy as well, right? It's like you get the light from outside. It creates energy. And there's many ways to do that also. And delight, the happiness. You create that, I'm happy to be here, so happy to meditate, happy to talk to you all. And then your mind becomes less dull. Because it's easy to arouse a dull mind with those things. Suppose you wanted to make a small fire flare up. Would you be able to do so if you threw dry grass, cow dung and wood onto it? Yeah, dry grass, blew on it and didn't cover it with dirt. Yes, Venerable Sir. Likewise, when the mind is dull, it's the right time to develop the awakening factors of investigation, energy and delight, because it's easy to arouse a dull mind with those things. But when the mind is restless or agitated, then is the wrong time to develop investigation, energy, and the like. Your mind is already moving, you're maybe thinking about this, thinking about that, and then you're creating more energy. Then it's actually difficult to pacify a restless mind with those things. Suppose you wanted to extinguish a great bonfire. Would you be able to do so if you threw more grass and more wood onto it? If you blew on it? No, because it would only burn stronger. Do you get this simile here? Already got a fire going on in your mind, and you throw on even more wood, and it's going to burn even brighter. Likewise, when the mind is restless, it's the wrong time to develop investigation, energy, and delight, because it's difficult to pacify a restless mind with those things. When the mind is restless, instead it's the right time to develop the awakening factors of calm, unification, and equanimity. Why? Because it's easy to pacify a restless mind with those things. Suppose you wanted to extinguish a great bonfire. Would you be able to do so if you threw wet grass, wet dung, and wood onto it and sprayed it with water and covered it with dirt? Yes, Venerable Sir. Likewise, when the mind is restless, it's the right time to develop the awakening factors of calm, unification, and equanimity. Because it's easy to pacify a restless mind with those things. So, calm can be, for example, relax to the max. Have you heard that before? That's calm, right? When your mind is restless, that can be so helpful. Just relax. Don't need to be so tight. Or you can just focus on your breathing. Just relax, calm. That's also a little bit of unification. That's my translation of samadhi. And a little side note, my teacher Ajahn Brahm translates samadhi as stillness, which is fine with me as well, but then you got here the factors of calm and stillness, which kind of mean the same thing, right? There's no real difference between calm and stillness. So actually to separate those two awakening factors, I like to translate samadhi as unification, by which I mean settling the mind on one thing, becoming one-pointed. So you can focus on your breathing or focus on this quiet of the present moment. That settles the mind. It pacifies the mind. And equanimity is this attitude of whatever happens, I won't react to it. I won't get upset. I won't get annoyed. I won't have longing or delight. I will just be at peace. So this is very helpful to know that even the Buddha said, if your mind is like this, you do that. But if it's like that, you do this. And that means that it's not always broccoli, right? As I've said before. Sometimes you need to do something else. And you have that responsibility to look at your own mind. And now this sutta is just about the distinction between restlessness and on the one hand and sleepiness on the other hand. But of course there's other distinctions in your mind as well. Am I having lots of desire, or do I have lots of ill will? Depending on that, you respond differently. If you have lots of ill will, then it's good actually to generate kindness, compassion, in a way letting go as well, and be kind to yourself and say it's all okay, it's all right, I'm good enough. And if you have lots of desires, and then you say, oh, it's fine, I can desire whatever I want, it's okay, then when you have addictions or stuff like that, can be very problematic. So also there you have to be wise. So instead, if you have desire, you say, no, I won't go into this. I have to be more disciplined. I have to be a little bit more strict, or you might reflect even on the dangers of going into those desires. And if you have ill will instead, if you don't just start contemplating like that, like, oh, I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't have ill will, I shouldn't, then you just make yourself more ill will. So I could almost create a similar sutta with the fire, but for ill will and aversion. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist in the suttas. But there are suttas where the Buddha does say, if you have ill will, you practice loving kindness. And if you have muscle restlessness, you focus on the breathing, for example. Yeah, he gives these instructions, if this, then that. Now, that is the idea of the cook. And that is how you have to use your own wisdom, your own insight. And when I teach like that, I give you a lot of responsibility. But I cannot help it, because that's, for me, how the Buddha teaches. Yeah. And that is what's for me also been very, very helpful, to realize that it's not just one trick that solves all problems. I don't know what the English expression is. Yeah, not like a one-trick pony or something. Is that the expression? I don't know. Anyway, the end of the sutta. Actually, if you still look at the screen again, at the end the Buddha says, "But non-forgetfulness or mindfulness is always useful, I tell you." Why is that? What do you think? Why is that always useful? Because this is my answer anyway, you might have another good answer. But for me, the Buddha is saying here, a lot of the part of mindfulness actually in the suttas is actually to remember the instructions of the Buddha. And it's basically to remember, oh, I feel sleepy, I have to energize my mind somehow. Or I feel restless, I have to settle the mind somehow. And to realize that very fact, that is the mindfulness, all part of mindfulness anyway. That's why I like to say non-forgetfulness. It's like you don't forget the instructions. You don't forget that you're there to move your mind in a certain situation. And that kind of mindfulness together with wisdom, often called sati sampajanya. Sati is mindfulness, and that sampajanya is that wisdom or awareness. And in this context, it means not just awareness as in consciousness, but awareness with a kind of aware of what you're doing, aware of what's going on in your mind, and aware of what way you move your mind to find that peace and clarity. Am I making sense? Yeah? And when I teach like this, I give you like the whole structure of meditation that you can use for the rest of your life, really. And if you always move in that direction of having peace and clarity, yeah, the samatha and the vipassana, you could say, the calm and the clear seeing, then your meditation will always move in the right direction. And it doesn't matter what tools you use to get there. Yeah. If one meditation instructor says, oh, this is the right way, and another says this is the right way, then that doesn't matter whether you use this or that, as long as it gets you moving in the right direction. Yeah. And sometimes you also will find teachers disagreeing on the meaning of words or on how to interpret certain suttas and things like that. And in a way that doesn't matter, as long as you know which things to use to find that clarity and peace within yourself. Yeah? Then you can sometimes put aside all those disagreements and just use whatever is skillful for you. Skillful means. So that's how I like to meditate, and that's what would be my main message for you today. But we got some more time, so maybe I can find something else interesting to say still. Let me give me a real short moment. Can I do another sutta or just tell a story? Maybe I'll tell a little bit of stories. Yeah. So we've seen just in this sutta right now how the Buddha says how you can use different of these awakening factors in your meditation. Is everybody familiar a little bit with those awakening factors? Might be the first time that you hear about them. I don't know how much you know about the Buddhist text. But in meditation, the Buddha often talks about the 5 hindrances. I've mentioned them before. And the 5 hindrances, somebody posted broccoli meditating. Oh, that's funny, I'm going to download that. All right, broccoli meditating. Thank you. That distracted me though. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances are like the obstacles that stand in the way of the deep meditation and the peace. Yeah? And the Buddha often talked about those. You hear meditation teachers talk about them. They're very helpful. But on the opposite end, the Buddha often talked about the 7 awakening factors. So you develop the 7 awakening factors to get rid of the 5 hindrances. That's one way to think about it. Now, and there's many suttas that talk about it like that. So the 7 awakening factors are really, although they're called awakening factors, they have more to do with developing the samadhi, developing the meditation. Yeah. And one that's very interesting is the awakening factor of investigation, as I translate it. Dhamma vichaya is like investigation of Dhamma, really. But Dhamma can mean many things in the Buddha's teaching. It can mean the Buddha's teachings as a whole, the Dhamma that we call it, or the Dharma in Sanskrit. But it can also mean states of mind are also called dharmas, or just principles are also called dharma. Yeah. So this thing of investigation can be actually a tool that we use in meditation as well. And that is also something that took me a while to realize, that meditation is not just always about stopping all the thinking and stilling down the thoughts, peace within. What can also be very helpful is to actually investigate, reflect a little bit. Yeah? You have to be careful not to make that into an intellectual exercise, but it can be very helpful to reflect on life sometimes, right? Now, because the reason is, in meditation we cannot really separate meditation from the rest of our lives. It would be so wonderful if you just could put your whole life aside, all your worries and all your troubles, and just put them completely aside, and they don't come up in your meditation at all. You never think about them. Yeah? But who of you can do that? I don't know about you, but I can't. Yeah? If I am starting a new monastery and there's problems, then maybe I will think about them a little bit in my meditation. Like, oh, what am I going to talk about with the early Buddhist society? Oh, no, it's not that bad, but just as an example. Yeah. Am I going to say the right thing or whatever? And one of the ways to reduce your worries is sometimes to actually actively reflect about life. For example, about the uncertainty of life. So this is another way that you can use right view to help you practically in life and in meditation. Because again, that's kind of the subject of this workshop, is how we can use right view in practical ways instead of just letting it be an intellectual concept. So the Buddha talked a lot about impermanence, and the word is anicca. And it does mean impermanence, but sometimes it also has this idea of uncertainty. You can see how that is related to one another, because if something is impermanent and changing, then there's no stability in it, so there's no certainty in it. Yeah? And it can be so helpful to realize that there is no certainty in life. The only certainty is that we all share the same nature, that we all have to pass away at some point. That's really the only thing that's certain. And that can be very challenging, to know that we all have to die and that nothing else in life is certain. But it can also be very relieving as well. Because I don't know about you, I can have some worries in my meditation, like what's gonna happen to me? Is this monastery gonna work out? Will the people bring food tomorrow? Because that's right. If you live in Bodhinyana monastery, you never have that worry. Will people bring food tomorrow? There's like so many monks there, and people are bringing food all the time. Every day there's people. And here, we're not very well known, and we're not so much supported like Bodhinyana monastery. So sometimes, will the people come? And you look at your clock, we have to eat before noon. As you might know, monks have to eat before midday. Will the people arrive in time? Twirling your thumbs, hoping for the best. But also, that's not so bad actually, but maybe more like long-term worries, like will I be able to keep living here, because we don't really own the land actually, we're just invited as by a kind person, just stay here and see what happens really. And so I don't have a permanent place to stay in a sense, and that can create a kind of worry sometimes if I start thinking too much about it. And then I should just reflect upon life. It's not certain. Only in Bodhinyana it's certain that you get food. Over here it's not certain. Even in Bodhinyana sometimes I like to reflect, maybe nobody's coming give food today. It never happened, but even during COVID people came. Because we didn't have really severe COVID here in Australia, so it was still kind of open. But anyway, you can see how, as a monk, sometimes you're very, very fragile, because you don't have a job, you don't have money, you have nothing to fall back on really, except for just people's kindness. And that can be very, very challenging for me anyway, sometimes, especially in this situation. Makes you feel very small, and then, what's gonna happen? If I start in that mindset, then it can be very difficult meditating. You get the anxiety coming and all this. And then I have to realize, I don't know what's gonna happen, and that's okay. Life is uncertain. Things, you can't even contemplate, things will be alright, But most of all, realize that to worry about it, that doesn't help. And now I have my situation in life, you have your situations in life. I'm sure that many of you have many more worries than me. And I feel very sorry for that in a way. But to realize that the way to deal with worry is not to always find the perfect preparation for the future or find the perfect solution, because things will always work out in ways that you don't expect. And I was once in a small temple also near Perth, but a Cambodian temple. And I was just visiting there, and I was staying there with another monk. I was the most senior monk at the time, and it was also very small, just 2 monks, just like here. And then people come every day to bring you food, and they had the roster more steadily set up, so I wasn't worried about whether people would come. But this day, a lady she came with her 2 sons. And she brought 2 sons and said, before we had the meal, she asked, "Oh, can you talk to my sons and teach them a little bit about the Buddha, about Buddhism?" And her sons were maybe like 6, 7 or something like that. And I said, okay, I can talk to them, but after the lunch, I have to eat first. And I never really taught young kids much before at that time, still now, And actually adults are very easy to teach. They pay attention, they're interested, they understand what you're saying. But kids, that can be very difficult. Some of you might have kids or might be teachers, and you know what I'm talking about. So I was actually starting to worry, like, what am I gonna teach these kids? So while I was eating, I was worrying about what am I gonna teach them. Not in like a big way, but I was thinking, planning ahead. And I saw they were wearing Batman costume. Like they actually had the hood with the ears of Batman and the logo on the chest. They almost had the mask, but not quite there yet. So, but they both had that, like a Batman pajamas thing, kind of, or whatever it is called. So I thought, okay, this is my chance. I'm gonna tell them about Batman. They clearly like Batman. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna say, "Oh, you like Batman? So the Buddha is just like Batman, because Batman, he fights all the bad guys, like the Joker, who is crazy, he's always doing crazy things. And the other bad guys that Batman fights, they hurt people and they steal from people. So if you want to be like the Buddha, you want to be like Batman. You want to not be a crazy person, and you want to be kind to people." So I had this whole thing prepared while I was eating. I barely tasted any of my food. I don't know what I ate that day. And actually, it's a rule of the monks and the nuns that you have to be mindful of your food. But that day, I didn't follow that rule very well, because I was just mindful of my whole prepared teaching. I was never so prepared before, even for the Polish Early Buddhist Society workshop. I don't prepare that much as for teaching the 2 Batman kids. So, finish my meal, wash my bowl, said to the lady, "Please send your kids, I can teach them about the Buddha." So the kids came in, they sat in front of me, and I asked, "Do you like Batman?" And they said, "No." "We like Pokemon," they said. And of course I can't teach them now my whole thing about Batman anymore, because they don't like Batman. Apparently, I don't. Why would you wear Batman shirt and stuff if you don't like Batman? I don't know about that. But so there my whole preparation went down the drain. And then I realized how stupid I have been, trying to prepare for the future, and that future never came. And that is a simile actually for meditation as well. If you sit there and you feel all these worries, then what is the best way to deal with that? Sometimes you have to think about things, you have to plan things, I hope very few of you have Zoom meetings with work. That all your Zoom meetings, may they be about Buddhism and meditation. But even I, with setting up this monastery, had some Zoom meetings with the organizers and stuff, because it's more like a society here in the West. I don't want to go into it. But then you have to sometimes prepare, what am I gonna say? And just so, yeah, you have to do that sometimes. Yeah. But while you're meditating, you can let go of that. And then to rest in the uncertainty in a way, and finding kind of beauty actually in uncertainty. Impermanence is really, really great, because it means even that bad things, they won't last forever. And impermanence is not a bad thing. And uncertainty, therefore, is also, in a way, is a good thing. And if you settle in the moment, you can always find some peace, even if things are uncertain. You can let go of that worry, at least, about it. And if you do that, then that very attitude, that is the best way to prepare for the future very often. Yeah. Then you meditate for a while, find peace, find this embracing the uncertainty of life, not knowing what's going to happen. And then afterwards you plan, after you come out of your meditation. You can plan very effectively with that knowledge in mind that you don't know whether this is going to work. Yeah? But you have the peace. And sometimes also helpful to know that all this worrying and planning has no use. I know there's like a heat wave now in Europe, at least where my parents live. I suppose in Poland as well. And Australia can get very, very hot as well. Yeah? So last year or the year before, we had a long drought as well. It can be that especially higher up north where Bodhinyana is, it can stop raining for 8 or 9 months in a row or something, and it's just very, very hot. And we ran out of water in the water tanks at Bodhinyana Monastery because we are not connected. Also here we're not connected to the water of the city. We have to collect rainwater, and that's what we use for cooking and drinking and so forth. And so you have to be very frugal, use little water so you have enough. But that year we ran out. And I remember we had this discussion with the monks after we did some chanting and stuff that we have to do. We had these discussions, and this monk brought up, we're running out of water. And then we were discussing what should we do. Should we disconnect some of the showers that use the rainwater? Should we call for extra water? Should we tell people to not use water and in the kitchen so much? And we had all these plans. And then they say, extra water is very expensive to get water trucks to bring water. Very pricey, so can't really do that either. We had quite a discussion about it. I don't even remember what we decided at the end. It was funny. Next day I walked into the monastery because I was actually living at the other side of the road for people who've been there. Walked into the monastery, and what did I see there? There was this water truck just there idling with its engine idling, and a guy got out. He walked up to me and said, we're working on the roads further down, and I need a place to park my truck overnight. Can I park it here in your monastery? And then in exchange I will give you some loads of water. And I was like, yeah, great. So I went up and told the monks, no more need to worry, it's all solved itself. And it was really, really wonderful. And it's kind of beautiful how these things happen very often. And also here now, starting this new small monastery, we are living here with just 2 monks, and in Bodhinyana Monastery and many other branch monasteries, they actually make sure that they also have lay people living in the monastery, because the lay people, if nobody shows up, they can at least do some quick cooking, or then they can do the driving. Because the monks also we do teaching elsewhere as well, or might need to go to the hardware store to buy stuff to fix plumbing or whatever. this is an old house, so we needed to fix stuff. But when we started this place, we also had a discussion, and the people kind of organizing more widely, they really wanted us to also have a lay person staying with us. We call them sometimes anagarikas. I don't know if you have heard that word before. Like people who want to become a monk but still don't have to keep all the rules. They can still use money and cars and can cook and so forth. But I said, and I convinced the other monk, let's try without. Let's see how it goes. Instead of deciding in advance, oh, we need a lay person because that's where you don't know what's gonna happen, and that people might not come for food, and we need the driving, all these worries. And I just said, let's just see what happens. And actually, the funny thing is that has created lots more interactions with people. Because people come here who don't know much about monks' rules sometimes. There's a lot of Westerners coming here. Might be similar in your Polish monasteries as well. And when we tell them about these things, they say, oh, well, if I live very close by, so if nobody comes for food, then you can give me a call and I will come up very quickly and I will just offer you whatever you might still have in your fridge or just some bread, so at least you got something. Yeah. And if we would have a layperson staying here, we would never have that conversation in the first place. And also some people offered us to drive, to do some driving here and there. And that was also an opportunity for them as well. So instead of worrying and trying to fix everything in advance and trying to do everything the way other places do it, I said, let's just see what happens. And that actually worked very, very well. So that is also a practical way to not worry, and to just sometimes do throw yourself in the deep end and just take a little risk. This is just it is very small risk, in a way. But when I told the main organizer for Sandy that stole henna, when I told him we are not gonna have a lay person here, I could see it's like a little bit of fear on his face, because it means, we have to communicate better with all the other people who support us, and actually, it might create some complications, but it also creates lots of opportunities. So whatever happens in life, it always creates opportunities as well, right? And to get back to meditation, it's the same. It's the same. Don't judge your meditation as good or bad. Always say, this is an opportunity to learn. And if I feel very stressed in my meditation, or very sleepy or dull, this is an opportunity to learn about myself. And I'm gonna be kind to myself and allow these emotions to be. If you want to be perfect, then don't meditate. Meditation is about embracing our imperfections and letting them be. Yeah? If I would not be able to embrace my imperfection, I would have been a very bad monk. Yeah? Because I have my imperfections, but I am kind to them. And actually, when you embrace them, that's when they start losing their grip on you. This is also very well known now in psychology. You've got like these things like acceptance and commitment therapy. You accept the things first, then you do something about it. That's very, very counterintuitive. But that's how we also meditated earlier. And I said, just look at his mind and body and see what's happening without judging. And don't immediately try to change it. First, just look at it. That's acceptance. Yeah? And even if there's things that you don't like in your meditation, the restlessness, the sleepiness, the ill will, the whatever, realize that this is an opportunity to learn, and it's not bad. Yeah? It's not evil, it's just the way things are. And the first time I went to, a long time ago, I went to Poland to teach over there, and I told this story about uncertainty, and not judging too soon. And it's the story of może nie, może tak. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yeah?
Quite good.
Yeah, some of you might have heard that story before. But so Sandy może nie, może tak means maybe yes, maybe no. Yeah? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So there was once a farmer. Yeah. And this farmer had only a cow to support his family. You know, in India, there's still sometimes this one family has one cow, and that cow gives them milk and helps with the plowing and so forth. So this farmer was very protective of his cow. It was his most prized possession. One day he woke up. I thought, time to milk the cow. Open the door. Cow is gone. No, the cow had run away. So the farmer was very, very upset, and he went to the local wise nun, the wise nun living in the village, and he said to the nun, "Oh no, my cow has run away. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me." And then the nun said, "Może nie, może tak. Maybe, maybe not." And the farmer didn't understand. He thought, what a stupid nun. Certainly this is the worst thing that ever happened to anybody. Yeah? So he went home. And the next day he thought, I'm going to look for my cow. Yeah? Instead of just sitting at home and crying about it, maybe I can do something. So he went to look through the fields and the forest. No cow. But what did he find? He found a horse. A wild horse, but still a horse. And horse is much more expensive than a cow. And he caught the horse and brought it back home. And he put the horse in the cow shed and went to see the nun. And said, "Yeah, today I found a horse. It's the best thing that ever happened to me." And the nun said, "Może nie, może tak. Maybe, maybe not." Yeah? And the farmer thought, what a stupid nun. Of course it's the best thing to happen to find a horse. There's nothing bad about that. Yeah, it's only good. The next day, the farmer woke up again, and he had a son who worked with him on the farm. And the son was very important to the farmer. Without him he couldn't do the work. But he said to his son, "This wild horse, you can tame it, so we can ride it, and we can put the plow on it. Yeah? Instead of the cow, we use the horse." And so the son climbed on the horse's back. What did the horse do? He threw the son off his back, and the son broke his arm. Ow! Oh no, now the son couldn't help the father on the farm anymore. So the farmer went to see the nun to tell all that happened. He said, my son broke his arm. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. And then the nun said, "Może nie, może tak." And then the farmer thought, what a stupid nun. Of course, what can be good about breaking your arm? It can only be bad. So he went back home again. Then the next day he woke up again. And what happened? There was war going on. War always goes on, sadly, but even in the time of this story. So the army came to recruit young men for the army. And all the young men in the village had to come to work for the king's army. Except for the farmer's son, because he had a broken arm, and you can't fight with a broken arm. So he got to stay home. And the farmer's son got to stay home. And the only son in the whole village. So the farmer went to see the nun and said, the best thing happened to me. My son got to stay home while all the other sons had to go and fight in the army. And then the nun said, Może nie, może tak. And so you can expand this story as much as you want. But are you like the farmer who never understood that things that might seem bad actually can have good consequences? And things that might seem good might actually end up not being so good. So what's happening in your life? What's happening in your meditation? Somebody's broken their knee, because of being kicked by a horse. So is that good or bad? Well, you don't know. If you wouldn't have broken your knee, maybe what would have happened is you would have been walking under a bus or something. You don't know. So maybe it's good that you broke your knee. So you're still alive. It's a bit abstract to think about that, but it is true, You never know. And it's the same in your mind. Maybe you've got certain character traits that you don't like, or certain attitudes in meditation that you think are only bad. Nothing good. But maybe you have to be like that nun and tell yourself, może nie, może tak. Maybe it's good, maybe it is good. And not to judge so quickly. That's another part of this dealing with uncertainty. And not to jump always with judgment. Because people talk so much about peace in meditation. And all you get is just blah, 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 your mind and all the restlessness and peace. What is that? You can't find it at all. Now, is that good or bad? What do you think? Może nie, może tak, right? Because actually, you can look at it like this. All that restlessness gives you a lot of opportunity to learn. If you would always be peaceful, then you might stop suffering. And you might not try and advance anymore. It's good to have some suffering in life. So, just like the Buddha talked about impermanence, he talked about suffering as well. The word dukkha, you might have heard before as well. And when we talk about dukkha, we say it's only bad, all this suffering, that's bad. But is it really bad? Może nie, może tak, right? Maybe, maybe not. We can learn from suffering. And it's actually, the Buddha also said, suffering is what leads to faith in the Buddha's teachings. Faith leads to kind of happiness, and happiness leads to good meditation, and good meditation leads to insight, and then the insight leads out of suffering. I'm summarizing here, but in a way, suffering leads to the end of suffering. If you would have just like an okay life and nothing's gone really wrong and everything's okay and you're really rich and you're really healthy and you really have no problems with your mind, you're very intelligent, then maybe you would never have... I'm sure you're all intelligent, by the way. But anyway, you're very wealthy, you're very, very healthy. Then maybe you would never come to a meeting like this. And you would never come to Buddhism. Many people come to Buddhism because of suffering. So we can be grateful for the suffering. Does that make sense as well? I came to Buddhism because I was suffering. I was in high school already, end of high school. And I was maybe 16 years old-ish. And this is what happened, yeah? I go to bed at night. And I close my eyes, it's time to sleep. And instead, thinking about all these things, voice going on in my head, so loud, yeah? And talking about school, talking about girls, talking about hobbies, talking about computer games, talking about... I think I was still playing with Legos when I was 16, I don't care to admit. And like planning what I was gonna build with Legos and what I was gonna do with friends and playing the drums and everything I was thinking about. And I just couldn't sleep, staying awake. Who recognize that? Yeah? Like insomnia, some of you will. And that was my reason to start meditating when I was younger. Because I read somewhere that I can find some peace in your mind. And I did find a peace, and I was able to still my mind. So I have to be grateful for that restlessness. It brought me where I am now. And if I get restless now, I can say, welcome, restlessness. You've been so good to me. Occasionally, very occasionally, I still have problem falling asleep. Yeah, it's much better now. I generally don't worry. But maybe when I break some of the monk's rules or something like that, and then I feel bad about it, and I start worrying, getting anxious. But then I say, welcome to my experience. Because of you, because of that restlessness, I started meditating. And because of that, I am where I am now. So is restlessness and anxiety good or bad? More je more je tak, right? And if you think like this, you don't get too swayed, too moved by the emotions in life. Yeah? You get very skillful. And this is another way that you can use insight to find that calm. Yeah? Insight into the reality of life, that things that might seem bad might actually in the long term have good effects. Before I open up for more questions, I want to finish my part of this, at least this talking part, with one final story. And this is one of my favorite stories in the Buddhist texts, in the early Buddhist texts. And this is actually not a story from the suttas, but from the Vinaya, from the monks' rules. You find many funny stories in there, actually. And this one is a story of Jivaka. And Jivaka literally means somebody who gives life. It's actually a doctor. And Jivaka at some point was the Buddha's doctor. And the story in the monks' rules is as follows. Pay close attention, because this story can change your life. Okay, so before Jivaka was Jivaka, I don't know what his name was, but he was actually abandoned by his mother. She was maybe like a teenage daughter, and she put him for adoption at the king's palace. So Jivaka was raised by the king in all wealth and all material benefits that he could want. And the king said, or was actually a prince, said, I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. You don't have to do anything. It's okay, you're just like my son. But Jivaka said, no, I want to take care of myself. I want to learn a profession and help people. I want to become a doctor. Yeah? And then Jivaka went out to study medicine. Actually, in the Buddhist time, medicine was already, it was quite a big field of study. I won't say it was advanced, there were probably many superstitions and stuff, but you had like this Ayurvedic medicine. Have you heard of that before? That's from the time of the Buddha already, actually. They've got really big texts on it. Anyway, that's what he was studying, yeah? Even they had like studied brain surgery and stuff like that. So Jivaka studied for many, many years under his teacher. For 7 years he studied according to the text. And then was time for his final exam. This is where the story gets really interesting. Because the teacher said to Jivaka, Jivaka, it's time for your final exam. And I want you to go out in the lands around the city of Savatthi, and go in a radius of 1 league, which might be about 10-15 kilometers, or something like that. Go in a radius 15 kilometers around the city and find all sorts of plants and herbs, and whatever plant or herb you cannot use to heal somebody, bring it to me and I will teach you about it. Yeah? So Jivaka went out and he went searching for months and months, and then he came back to his teacher empty-handed. He said, there's not a single plant, a single herb, a single tree that I cannot use to treat somebody with. I can always use everything in some way or the other. And then the teacher said, Jivaka, you have passed. You passed the exam. You are so wise. You know that any kind of plant you can use. And that's not said in the suttas, but this is a simile for how you can use any kind of experience in life to heal yourself. And you can use everything, mojenyat mojetak, you know. You can use all sorts of experiences to grow, to become a better person. And even the so-called bad parts of ourselves. I don't like to think about bad parts, yeah? Maybe you got your addictions, your anxieties, your traumas, your whatever it may be. It's okay. It's all part of life, and we can grow because of it. We can learn because of it. Without suffering, there would be no growth. Without so-called defilements, there would be no enlightenment. Life would become meaningless. And if we just say, everything I experience, everything I feel, I can use, especially also in meditation. Then you never judge your meditation as bad. You always judge it as some helpful experience. And that way you can keep meditating and keep motivated to meditate, keep disciplined to meditate, Martha, because you're not aiming for pleasure always, you're just aiming to learn, and you can always learn from everything that you experience. Does that make some sense as well? Is it just a nice story, or is actually yeah, or are you actually feeling it, right? I really feel it when I say this, yeah, because I have my own defilements as well, and instead of just pushing them away, I just say, okay, yeah, this is the way it is, and I'm gonna grow from it. There was another funny story with Jivaka. It doesn't really relate to what I'm teaching now, but maybe I'll tell that next time, maybe tomorrow or something. And for now, I want to ask you if any of you has any questions about what I talked about, or maybe other things, just in general. We can do that. But first, maybe we should take another break for 5 minutes. Is that okay? Or
but
who wants?
We don't finish at 12.
Okay, yeah, but for me it's okay to go a bit longer.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. I only said to keep it shorter because I didn't know if I had enough things to say. That's the only reason, main reason. Tomorrow is more important. Tomorrow, if I have a busy day, I might be tired. But today,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I want to take a little break anyway for a few minutes, so see you in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Jan, we didn't hear you. Could you please say something more?
Can you hear me now? No?
Oh, yes. Now it's good. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, for those of you who can hear me, today I have taught you a little bit based on the suttas and based upon your own experience, the connection between understanding, a right view, and calm, and how we use this discernment or this clarity to develop the calm. I've talked about how you have to be like a skillful cook who does not always cook the same dish, to not always serve broccoli to your mind and body, but also to serve other dishes, depending on what's the right time for your mind. And I've also showed you a sutta where the Buddha literally says, if your mind is restless, then don't do this, but do this. And when your mind is dull, don't do this, but do this. And that is the main message I want to give you today, that you don't always have to use one method in meditation. You can have your main methods, You can have methods that you fall back upon maybe even 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But there are some times that you need another tool. And that puts me as a teacher in an interesting position, because it gives you a lot of responsibility to find your own ways in meditation. But I can't help but teach that way, because that's how I meditate myself. And what you do is you look clearly at your mind and body, see what's going on, what does it need, and then you react appropriately and serve the right dish, as it were, to your mind. So I hope that message resonates with you, and you got anything helpful out of that. Having said that, if that message doesn't make much sense to you, then that's also okay. Sometimes there's just a value in sticking to one technique and just doing only that. That's also can be beneficial, because sometimes actually the way I teach might create a lot of doubt, and what do I do here and there. So sometimes just sticking to the same thing has its value as well. But either way, I also taught you how to not judge your meditation as good or bad, to always see it as an opportunity to learn. And then whatever you do, move into the direction of some peace and clarity. Samatha and vipassana both go together as two sides of the same coin. So, having said all that, maybe you have something helpful to say as well, or maybe you have some questions. Could be about what I talked about, but could also be about anything else.
Some questions and comments, Ajahn, on the chat. You can always raise a hand on Zoom, but if you don't know how to do it, you can just wave, just give us a sign, and we will find you, and you can ask your question. But starting from questions from the chat, from Ula. During my practice, I noticed that the most profound changes don't occur solely during meditation. Often after listening to the Dhamma or in daily life, a sudden insight occurs, accompanied by strong emotions, resistance, and then relaxation and relief. Is such an experience natural on the path of development? How should we respond to such insights and emotions? How should we understand the connection between meditation, insight, and the transformation that also occurs outside of formal practice?
That's a very good question as well, actually. You're all, and I'm not just saying that to boost your ego or anything. You're all asking very good questions that are very recognizable to me anyway, and I hope also recognizable to others of you as well. And it's true that some of the most profound transformations just kind of happen outside of meditation, but they are still caused by your practice, because the mind kind of still keeps evolving outside of meditation. I also have it quite often that I might do some meditation, let's say in the morning, and it doesn't really bite, it doesn't really seem like it has done much, but then later in the day I feel, oh, it actually has some benefit, because I only feel it later in the day, the peace. And I mainly had that when I was still like a layperson having a more busy life, so you only have so much time to meditate. Maybe in the morning you meditate, and then later you get into some difficult situation, you see that your mind is actually reacting with peace. So even the benefits of peace in meditation, you cannot always see directly in that meditation itself. It can be much more long-term. And so this is also, again, the Moja Tak attitude, right? Don't judge your meditation immediately. Yeah, at the end of meditation, I ask, how do you feel now and how did you get there? But sometimes the results actually come later still, not in your meditation yet. And it's the same with insight as well. And sometimes you have the insight or the clarity outside of meditation. I've had that as well, even as a monk as well. You sit meditation maybe in your heart, and then it doesn't seem like my mind has become much more clear. And then you go for a walk, and suddenly I see so much clearer. I see all the droplets on the leaf very, very clearly, and see the cloud look so much more bright and not so much more blue. And I realized, oh, I did actually find some clarity in my meditation. I just didn't notice yet while I was meditating. And it might take some time. Yeah, so it definitely can happen outside of your formal meditation practice. And I would say most of the insights, for some reason, tend to happen outside of your meditation, like the deeper insights. I don't know why, but that has been the way for me anyway. But that doesn't mean that you should now stop meditating, because they're still caused by your meditation. It's just like a long-term effect, basically. Yeah. And also to realize that, you know, we want instant gratification often. Yeah, it's just like we want things to happen now, right here and now, have the benefits of meditation straight away. But we need patience as well. Yeah, and then it can be helpful to realize that the way we relate to time is really very limited. Yeah, we're human beings, and we actually live a very relatively short, and the universe is so old, you know. And if you believe in rebirth, which is part of the Buddha's teachings on right view as well, maybe Venerable Vimala told you about that, then it changes your whole perspective as well. You're not so much in a rush to make things happen, even in this life, let alone in this meditation session. You say, okay, well, I can have another life and try again. Yeah. And okay, this is a joke, but it's kind of a wise joke. So, as you might know, even in the Buddhist text traditions, there is the idea that the gods, they live much longer than human beings. Okay, so and a man dies and goes to heaven, and he asks gods, "How long is 1,000,000 years to you, God?" And God says, "Oh, just a second. 1,000,000 years to me is just like a second." And then the man asked, "How much is $1,000,000 to you, God?" And God says, "Oh, $1,000,000 to me is just a penny." And then the man says, "Oh, really? Can I have a penny then?" And God says, "Of course, just a second." You know, and to relate to time and things like that in a different way can be helpful as well, to not always find instant gratification. Yeah? And I'm also reminded of this 99-year-old woman that I met. It's another joke. And the 99-year-old woman was approached by a banker, an investment advisor. And they say, oh, you've got all this money in your life and I've got a great investment for you. If you invest in this, I can double your money in the next 5 years. And then the lady said, look at me, I'm 99 years old. I don't even buy green bananas anymore. You know, the green bananas take too long even. So yeah, that's another way to think about the relativeness of time. Yeah. Okay, so good question. Bad jokes, but good question. So yeah, have you got any other questions?
Yes. Can this lack of dwelling on complications and future simply be called trust and acceptance?
Can this lack of dwelling on complications and future simply be called trust and acceptance? Yeah, that's what you can call it. Have the trust that things will turn out all right, and accept things whatever way they happen to turn out. Yeah. So to have the trust, the thing that as long as you're doing your practice, it will go slowly in the right direction. And often what blocks the progression is not so much the practice, but the idea that we are not progressing. And then you think I'm not progressing, or it's not working, and that because of that that's the reason it's not working. Yeah. And also to realize that we don't have to be perfect. That's okay. Yeah. Because even if you're not perfect, you're good enough, you know. It's like there's actually a man in Bodhinyana monastery who drives the monk a lot, and actually when he was younger he lost some of his fingers, and that's true story actually, but you can make a joke out of it as well. Yeah, maybe when he was younger he went to the doctor and he asked the doctor, oh, I lost some of my fingers, can I still drive, and can I still drive with this hand? And the doctor says, yes, but I wouldn't count on it. That's a very stupid joke. All right. I don't know, I'm in a joking mood now for all of a sudden. Yeah. So a man is walking through the woods, and suddenly you get chased by a bear. He starts running away from the bear, but the bear is trying to eat him. The man was a Christian, and he quickly kneeled down on the floor and said, oh, please God, make this bear more Christian. And then the bear knelt down on the floor and said, dear Lord, thank you for the food I'm about to have. I don't know, that doesn't have any connection with what I've been saying, but that's just a funny joke. All right, does anybody have any more serious things to say?
Yes. A question from Maria. I have a problem with a rat that started to live under my patio. I don't want to hurt him. I'm trying to get rid of him, but all the methods I have used don't work. It lasts for more than a month now. I'm learning quite a lot about my attitude towards him. I started to have some emotional relation with him, a bit of fear, disgust, compassion, and sympathy. But still, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to approach that problem without, how to solve maybe this problem without hurting the poor guy. The story of może tak, może nie relates that quite well.
Yeah, well, actually we have rats here in the ceiling as well, just above my room. I have rats, and then the other monk started complaining about the noise. He couldn't sleep during night because he had rats in his ceiling. I said, that reminds you that you're living in a forest, you know. Well, probably in the city you also have rats actually, but these are forest rats, you know, and they are my friends. When I was a boy, went on a school camp once when I was 12 years old, the end of primary school. You have like the end school camp, and we staying in these bungalows with like 4 kids and 1 teacher in each bungalow. We had this huge spider in our room, and I initially was afraid of it. Oh, huge spider! But then my friend actually gave it a name, gave the spider a name. Can't remember what it was. Then it became our friend, you know, just by giving it a name. Let's say it was Mr. Crawly Crawl or something, I don't know. And so, Mr. Crawly Crawl is living in the ceiling here. It's a really big spider. I came from an area from the Netherlands where they don't have much spiders, but we went in camp. That is really big spider I've never seen before. And then the teacher, she came in to see if we were all in bed, you know. And then she saw the spider and she got the spider and caught it, and I don't know if she killed it or whatever, but that was very sad because that was Mr. Crawly Crawl for me, whoever it was. So maybe you can give your rat a name as well, be a little bit like a pet, yeah. And you can give it a name, and so because I've been talking about cooks a lot, what do you call a very grateful rat? Ratatouille. Very stupid. But maybe you can call your rat Ratatouille. Yeah? But there is also ways to catch rats that don't kill them. But maybe it just hasn't gone into the trap yet. We used to have rats inside here as well, actually, the first few weeks we were here. And that's, of course, a bit of a health problem because they got shit over the floor and stuff. So actually, we caught them in like one of those cages that close, and then we just drove them off. Yeah, well, somebody took them out, and I haven't seen them again, inside anyway. Yeah, so that's another way. Because it doesn't really hurt you if they're living underneath your porch, right? As long as they don't get inside, it's fine. And there's nothing scary about rats. Some people keep rats as pets. Yeah? They're really, really kind. And even you've got lizards here in Australia and stuff like that. And at first I was kind of afraid of lizards, but now I actually kind of like them as well. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy we don't have the translations, to be honest, because then we would have been going on for such a long time. But for some people, I'm sorry that there are no translations, but you can see the benefit as well, hopefully. Okay.
Paula Ajahn has interesting comment. Ajahn Sunyo, thank you for reminding me that story. I am lying with knee broken because I was kicked by horse lately. So może nie, może tak. Yes. And we have the person who wants to ask the question. Velizar, yes, please.
Hello, I have 2 questions, if that's okay. They're very connected with each other. So the first one, can meditation be targeted against a particular problem? Or is it more powerful if you're meditating on whatever arises all on its own, just to observe and do nothing? Because if I do nothing, if I'm just with the experience, then I cannot actually target it to anything. So that's my question.
You can do both in a way. But what do you mean by a specific problem? Do you have anything in mind?
Well, I have some friends who they approach meditation similarly sometimes, like they say to investigate something. Actually, it's a good point to connect it with my second question, because you said that when there's too much restlessness, for example, to do samadhi, which, yeah, but if there is too much sloth and torpor, then to do vipassana, I guess, is what one of the teachings from today. But the thing is that once again, if I'm just arousing joy or arousing these other things, then it involves some kind of moving. I don't. It's a bit. I don't know how to. Does that make sense? My problem I'm describing.
I'm not sure if I fully get what you're trying to say, but it's true that sometimes if you try and generate joy or reflecting in what you've called vipassana in a way, can be move the mind a bit. Yeah. So then might also be helpful to realize that it's not always the goal to always find only steady and peaceful mind in that way. It's because sometimes you need a little bit of a reflection and movement to actually get new insights, and that it can be helpful as well. And sometimes move the mind a little bit in the start makes it actually easier to stop it later, to stop the movement later. It's kind of counter psychology, you know. You have this wish in your mind to be peaceful and stop the thinking and be calm. Am I right?
So the thing is that I end up grasping, just to remember during the meditation that I need to be observing or to be arousing kindness or things like that. I am grasping this thing, because otherwise, I just do nothing and lay down, and it's more of a samadhi meditation or of a peacefulness meditation. But maybe that's okay to grasp a bit. I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so it can be helpful occasionally when you see in yourself that desire or that tendency to always try and find only calm and peace, to actually purposely do a little bit of reflection, to not give your mind right away what it wants. And then it's kind of reverse psychology, that's the word I'm looking for. Actually say, I'm not going to do exactly what I desire. I'm going to go the other way. I desire that calm and peace, but I'm actually going to contemplate a little bit about death or whatever, or contemplate the whatever sutta you like. And then you can see in yourself that desire to find the peace, and you're not indulging in that desire. And in a way, there's something wholesome about that desire as well, but it can also be helpful to not listen to it and actually a little bit go the other way. And then when you're done contemplating, you let go of that desire for find peace as well, then the peace is even more strong, because it's not tainted by a desire to be to be peaceful. If you have real equanimity, if you're like enlightened, then in a way you don't care if you are suffering or if you're at peace. You don't care whether you are happy or not, because you're equanimous. You see that even happiness and peace is all, we say, dependently arisen. It can be trusted. Even the happiness, the joy, it is temporary. Even the states like jhanas are temporary, and therefore the real best attitude to meditation is to neither want peace nor get rid of suffering, but just to be and see what happens. And then you will find peace automatically. That's kind of the way it goes. Does that make sense?
I think so. It's just that what is the thing that's making me, the thing that's kind of resisting initially is that I have this idea that if it's not just the suffering that's the problem, but having purposeful holding on to things. And if I'm where I can deliberately choose not to hold on to things, deliberately choosing to hold on to things. But maybe that's mistaken. Maybe it's a no self kind of situation. Just don't need to worry. I don't know.
If my teachings today were not so helpful for you, or you can't see their relevance, that's okay as well. You know, if your meditation is working and you don't need to adopt these things, then don't. And maybe tomorrow I'll talk a little bit more about non-self, probably. Maybe that will help you more. Yeah.
No, your teachings were really helpful. Thank you so much for them. Even today. Thank you for the answer.
Just to say a little bit more. Sometimes if you want to find peace, and if I see my mind has this tendency to move, but I want peace, then occasionally I just indulge in that movement and just let it think a little bit and plan this and that, and just realize, as long as I realize that's what I'm doing, I like purposely let it go. Let it just move. And then often you'll find the mind just has a certain energy that it needs to get rid of, and then it'll stop after a while anyway. And so it's not like you're trying to control it, you're just letting it go. So let the mind run a bit, let it go a bit, then it'll automatically lose interest in that. Yeah. So, yeah. So what happened to the man? So,
sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. What happened to the man who was running in front of the car? He got tired. And what happened to the man who was running behind the car? He got exhausted. So sometimes just let your mind run, you know. Let it run after your thoughts about the future, past, and maybe even do some contemplation, and then it gets kind of tired of that, and then you just let go. This again is the Majita kind of idea. Sometimes thinking can be a tool as well, in my experience anyway. Thank you for that question, Velizar.
Thank you so much.
So, Beatka raised hand.
Hello again. I have just one question, because I noticed that, I don't know, am I right or not, but if you meditate, just meditate and listen time to time when it's possible, the Dhamma talk. The changes that you need are coming by themselves. You're changing your mind just by the way, by listening to Dhamma talk sometimes and doing meditation. And everything is like, less I care, more I get. It's not because I'm ignorant or something. It's just because I just let things be the way they are. And everything's going on actually better than ever. Everything is coming on time, the exactly time. Is that correct way of thinking or not? Please let me know if I'm right or wrong. Ajahn, please. Thank you. Is it everything going on by itself, like, because you're meditating? So the inner wisdom is just there since the beginning, but it's something like you're getting what you want, what you should, actually, maybe not what you want, but what you should in time as you're meditating.
The most important thing is to have trust that as you continue meditating, you will find more and more rewards. Yeah. Because you said you've been meditating for a few years. And sometimes you can find a lot of benefits in the beginning, and then when you do it for longer and longer, sometimes you might plateau a bit, or it might even seem to regress a bit. And it's especially important that during those times you still have the motivation to keep going, and the trust, as somebody mentioned it, to that this practice is leading to a better place. You can imagine that also for a monk. Yeah, I've been a monk for 10 years, that not during those 10 years I always kept getting happier and happier every day, or every week even, or every month, or even every year. Sometimes you have years that it doesn't go as well, but it's most important to, during those times, still have the faith and wisdom that you need to do this practice. That without it you might be even worse. Yeah, and yeah, then you do get your insights and your peace when you need it, or when you deserve it, let's say. And to have that realization that it actually does have benefit your meditation, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good.
Don't have Ajahn other questions on the chat.
Or if anybody has any. See if I can find any.
There are some comments, but not questions.
Okay, in that case, nobody has any more questions, then we can end for today.
Okay.
Then we will see each other again tomorrow, for those of you who can come.
So and now let's go to prepare our broccoli soup for today.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Ajahn. So let's meet tomorrow, 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So the meeting,
I will,
Sadhu.
sadhu. I will see you
Thank you
tomorrow
very
then.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.